Hi, I'm back. I'm Nancy Friedman, founder and chairman of Telephone Doctor Customer Service Training. And I've got a power packed, filled with fun information program for you this time. A little bit shorter, but the bottom line, it's called The 7 Traits of Being Successful. Now, there are, of course, many, many more traits than 7, but these rose to the top in all the surveys we did. The 7 Traits of Being Successful. We're calling this our reality show, and the reason I'm calling it my reality show is because if I were there in person and I had 100 people in the audience and I make a mistake, we all laugh. Well, I want you to do the same thing because I probably will have a laugh or two with you on maybe not a foul word, but a foul a word that isn't supposed to be there. I'm just going to be Nancy. What you see is what you get. And maybe that's why our programs are so fun, because it's real. It's just real. I haven't got a script in front of me. I just know the material that I want to share with you. One of the most often asked questions that I get is, Nancy, how did you happen to become the telephone doctor? So before we get into the program, I do want to share that with you because it is an interesting entrepreneurial, and you all are entrepreneurs, of what exactly happened. For many years, my husband and I worked together. He created a company called Weatherline Incorporated. Weatherline Incorporated was the largest private provider of weather information by phone in the United States for many, many years, over 25 years, I might say, maybe 30 years. We were made obsolete by the cell phones, where you just look at your cell phone for the time and the weather. But bottom line, before that, we were quite successful. And it was a wonderful, wonderful time. We had 150 cities across the country, from New York to California, Minnesota to Texas, 150 cities across the country. If you were in one of our cities, you probably heard Dial the Weather Line from a local radio station. It was usually sponsored locally by a bank or a newspaper or something like that. The grocery store, a lawyer's office once did it. A traffic, ticket place did it one time. But it was it was another media for advertising, and we had very happy customers. My job was client services. My husband traveled a lot, selling and making more business, and my job was to keep our advertisers satisfied, and so that they would renew year after year after year. And I did a pretty good job about it, and I had a lot of fun. Working with your husband and spouse is not for everybody, but that's a whole nother program. But I can tell you, we worked shoulder to shoulder, and it worked just super for us. So bottom line, that was my job. And one day, I said, I got to call the insurance agency. So I called my insurance agent, who we worked with for years and years and years and years, and sort of became a good friend of ours. And he wasn't there, and somebody said, can I help you? And when somebody says, can I help you, they should be able to help, right? So I asked my question, and she said, I really don't know. And I said, well, is Susie there, or whoever her name was? Yeah, just a minute. She transferred me over. I asked the question. She's, boy, that wow, I'm not sure on that one. I said, okay, thank you, bye. Okay, bye-bye, you're welcome. And I'm thinking, for what? What was I welcome for? For not having the information? Okay, these are lessons within the story. I know they are. But anyway, I thought about it, and I called Michael the next day, and I said, Michael, cancel all my policies. And I could hear him fall off the chair. He said, my gosh, Nancy, what happened? I told him, your people stink. They're so rude, they're so abrupt, they're so unfriendly, they're so unhelpful, and I don't need to be treated like that. You're terrific, but you're never there. And I got to tell you, Michael, your kids are cute, your wife is pretty, but I don't want to do business with you anymore. Thank you very much. He said, you know what, Nancy, you're right. He said, when I call your office, I'm treated like a king, and I'm not even a customer. I said, Michael, we treat our wrong numbers better than you treat your customers. Yeah, I said that. I did. He said, would you do me a favor? I said, what's that? He said, would you come to my office and would you show my guys what you guys do? Well, I don't know about anybody sitting out there, but when somebody reaches out to touch me, I do want to touch them back. So I said, yeah, I'll go to your office. So I went to his office out of love. The last time I did out of love, let me tell you that. But I went to his office, and they had coffee and donuts ready. They had 4 or 5 tables, 6, 7 people around each table. I don't think there were 15, 16 people in the room. Had a cup of coffee, had a donut, and Michael said, Nancy's going to speak with us. So I stood up in front of these 16, 17 people looking at me, probably how you're looking at me now, huh? What you going to say? And I said, well, in our office, we say please. And one woman said, Hilda, write that down. That's a good one. And she wrote down please. And we say thank you. We say you're welcome. We say, we'll check on that. Happy birthday. That's what we do at our office. I don't think I spoke 15 minutes. Another cup of coffee, another donut. So thank you very much. And I walked out the door. Before I got to the door, somebody yelled, Nancy, just a moment. I turned around. It was the president of the insurance agency. I said, what's wrong? He said, nothing's wrong. I just wanted to thank you. I said, you're welcome. He says, no. You don't understand. We really learned some new things. Came home, had a drink with my husband that night. He hadn't known what what I did? I said, Dick, let me tell you what I did. So I told him about calling Michael and canceling the policies and the cookies and the donuts and the round table and Hilda and please and thank you. I said, Dick, as I was walking out the door, the president of the insurance agency said, thank you very much. We really learned some new things, Dick, that you and I do, like breathing in and breathing out. I don't understand. And Dick looked me right in the eye and said, Nancy, don't ever be surprised. Nobody has ever shown them. Well, I happen to have mentioned this very same story that I care to share here with you today to the then general manager of a newspaper in Davenport, Iowa. He happened to be I think he was the publisher, not the general manager, and he happened to be in town. He was one of our clients of the Weather Lines, and we took him to dinner that night. Now, what do you think you talk about when you take one of your clients out to dinner? You talk about what you did that day. So he said, what's going on, Nancy? What you do today? How's it going? I said, well, I do have a funny story for you. And I told him about calling Michael, and canceling the policies, and what happened. I told him exactly what happened. And he said, oh my goodness, finished our dinner, went home, came in my office the next morning, my phone was ringing. It was the general manager publisher from the newspaper in Davenport, Iowa. And he said, Nancy, I've been thinking about what we talked about last night, and you're right. From president to maintenance, if you have a telephone on your desk, you should be trained. Would you come to my newspaper, Nancy? Would you train my people? I said, sure, Bob. How many people do you have, dear? He said, 300. I turned to my husband. I said, now look what you got me into. Well, I happen to have married the can-do man, and the can-do man said, you can do it, Nancy. So I sat down and I wrote a half-day program. Yeah, and I flew up to Davenport, Iowa, and delivered 4 programs. Morning, afternoon, next day, morning, afternoon. 4 of them, 4 programs, morning, afternoon. The first program, Bob, the general manager, publisher, he wanted the management to be involved. So we had all the managers of the newspaper for the first program. So I delivered that first program to all the managers of the Quad City Times in Davenport, Iowa. And when I was done, the editor of the Quad City Times walked over and he says, you're very good. He says, you sure have all the cures. And he had a little chuckle in his eye, and he said, I'm going to call you the doctor. I'm going to call you the telephone doctor. And I came running home to Dick. I said, Dick, somebody called me the telephone doctor. What'll we do? He said, let's go get it registered. We're going to have some fun. And fun we've been having, running around the country, the world, if you will. The program that you're seeing here today has been presented in Canada, Australia, United Kingdom, Istanbul, Turkey, Jamaica, Bermuda, Germany. United States does not have a monopoly on poor customer service. So you had the golden nuggets this morning. And I hope that you will utilize as many as if you just take one, you've learned something that can, pick you up and lift your spirits. So this is the 7 traits of being successful. We've analyzed them, we've worked on them, and there's some personal stories involved, and I want to share them with you. The first trait is you must choose your attitude in advance. When you get up in the morning, you have a decision to make. This is going to be a happy day or a crappy day. You get to make that decision all by yourself. So just between you and me, I always choose it's going to be a happy day. And I start out happy. And I even have one of those little nuggets. Remember those little nuggets that we pulled out of the wine glass? I have one of those on my makeup mirror. I have humor, energy, and enthusiasm. You're going to hear about that today. Humor, energy, and enthusiasm. Without those 3, your attitude sort of goes to where. So attitude, you have a choice, and the choice is yours and yours alone. Nobody can make you have a bad attitude but you. Got that? All right. But there's a difference between attitude and mood, and I want you to know the difference. Attitudes are permanent. Moods are temporary. That's right. Attitudes are permanent. I have a permanent good attitude. People say, well, don't you ever get in a bad mood, Nancy? Well, of course I do. Who doesn't? We all get in bad moods. But I know for a fact that when you start out with a good attitude, you don't stay in a bad mood long. You just don't. I don't like to be in a bad mood. Yeah, I've been in it maybe 15 to half an hour, I think, is all I give my bad moods. And then I'm out of it. I don't want to be around it. We don't want to be around people. We don't want to be around negative people, negative words. It's just a process that we made possible for ourselves. It's the way we live. Attitude versus mood. We were in Nassau a while back to show you how 2 people with the same situation can have different attitudes. Listen carefully. I'll take San Francisco first because that's the first thing that happened. We were in San Francisco several years ago, and we started to walk up and down the hills. And if you've ever been to San Francisco, it's pretty hilly. And I said, Dick, my ankle's hurting me. Could we please take a cab? And he says, it's just down the street. Well, down the street in San Francisco is 20 minutes if you've ever been there. So I said, I don't want to walk 20 minutes. There's a cab. Could we take the cab? He said, okay. Now, Dick used to be a cab driver. So when we have what we call a short hop, he always tells the cab driver, look, I've been a cab driver. Short hops were not my favorite. I will overtip you. We're just going down the street here. And we've never had an issue. So we get in the car, and Dick closes the door, and Dick says to the cab driver, look, I used to drive a cab when I was in college, and I know short hops aren't our favorites. But we're just going down the street here. My wife hurt her ankle. I will overtip you. And the cab driver turns around and looked at us and said something that I'm not able to say on screen here. I would get somebody like you. Well, Nancy hobbled out of the car and hobbled down and up and down the hills. We were not even going to stay in that car for the 3 minutes it would have took us to get somewhere. We just didn't want to be in that atmosphere. Several years later, we happened to be in Nassau. And it was raining out. Dick said, okay, we'll run across the street. I said, you like to walk in the rain. I don't. You're bald. I have hair. My hair, yeah, I said that. My hair gets funky in the rain. So I'm going to wait for a cab. He said, well, there's one over there. He said, okay, I'll drive you over. I'll have him drive us over. So we knock on the window, get in the car, and Dick says, he used to drive a cab. We went through the same thing. He used to drive a cab. It's a short hop. I will overtip you. And the cab driver turned around with the biggest smile and said, it would be my pleasure. Same situation, different people. We all handle things differently. Let yours be the positive way. I have 2 nieces. All right, one's a optimist, one's a pessimist, and you know what those are: pessimists and optimists. Like, ooh, there's a cloud, not gonna rain. So they get along beautifully, and they're wonderful young ladies. But one is very semi-negative, and the other one is, I won't call her Pollyanna, but there's always a bright silver lining with her. Anyway, the pessimist gets frustrated when the optimist always gets happy. So the pessimist told me one day, it was in the winter area, she said, for Christmas, I'm going to give my sister a box of manure and see what she does with that. You wouldn't. I am. Okay, don't count me in on that. I won't sign the card. Well, anyway, she did. She went out and got a little bit of manure, put it in a Tiffany's box, put the ribbon on it, put it under the tree. Now, we happened to all be together Christmas morning, and the optimist comes running down the steps. Oh, there's a present. I'm going to always have my name out in a big letter. I see the name. So she opens up the box. She sees the manure, and she said, oh, thank you. Where's the pony? Well, you can decide if that's true or not. But it did happen. Bottom line, the optimist is so optimistic. She was, she thought there was something good there. Anyway, attitude is a choice. You have a choice every day you get up. Pick the right one. Number 2, visualize success. Visualize success. Yeah, you see it in your head. Salespeople are taught that from day one. When you get one order, visualize the rest of the day is filling up with other orders. Visualize your first order if you need to. You visualize success. Now, visualizing success is hard work. It is hard work. Example, you want to lose weight. I have at least, I don't know if you've ever done it, but I put a picture of myself when I was a little heavier on the front of the refrigerator. So every time I go to the refrigerator to put my hand in something that I shouldn't, I'm not going to. So I'm visualizing myself thinner than the picture shows. Sometimes I put both pictures up, the fatty and the nanny, and the fatty and the thinny. But either way, we visualize success. I was in Barnes & Noble a while back, and I love to go to the bookstores. And I happened to browse or walk by a stand, and at that time, one of the best sellers was a book called The Secret. It was written by Rhonda Burns, I believe. It's a very motivational book. You might have heard about it a while back. And I thought, wow, I haven't read it. So I opened up the book, and I'm browsing through it, and I opened up to a page. Wow, look what it said. You know what it said? Of course you don't. You've read the book. But it said, if you think it, it will happen. If you think it, it will happen. Wow, I didn't know that. That's amazing. So in the middle of Barnes & Noble, I closed my eyes and I thought to myself, I want to be a dentist. I want to be a dentist. I want to be a dentist. I opened up my eyes. I was still in Barnes & Noble. I wasn't a dentist. And I thought to myself, I'm not sure I'm buying that. If you just think it, it'll happen. Sounds good, but I didn't want to buy it because I know that if you want to be a dentist, you got to graduate high school, you got to graduate college, you got to go to dental school, you got to be an intern in a dentist's office, you got to get a job or open your own office. You got to do a lot of things. It's hard work to be a dentist. I want to be on Fox News, all right? I've been on Fox News. I want to be on the couch, sit with all the others. because I believe our topic is very universal, if you will. And I believe we can help a lot of people. Well, if I want to be on Fox News, I just don't pick up the phone and say, yeah, hi, it's Nancy Friedman. I'm the telephone doctor. Is Thursday Thursday morning's good for me. Is that, that's not how it happens. Here's what happens if you want to be on Fox News. Number one, you got to think of a very good angle. And then you need to write a press release. And the press release has to be something that will stand out, pop out to the producers, of which there are on Fox News for any 1 hour, anywhere from 12 to 15 producers. So you got to find the right producer, because one handles books, one handles animals, one handles politics, one handles this, one handles that, and they all have a separate job to do. And I didn't even know where I came in, what producer to go to. Bottom line, it's hard work getting on Fox News. It's hard work. So visualizing success is hard work. If you're writing, visualize success. I want you to put equals hard work. Being successful does not come easy. It's hard work. So you have number one, choose your attitude in advance. Number two, visualize success. And number three, energy, humor, and enthusiasm. Yeah, most of your successful people have energy, humor, and enthusiasm. Energy, you walk straight up, shoulders back, stomach in. You walk the walk, you talk the talk. You ever watch people walk across a parking lot? If they're sloughing their feet, they're hunched over. I'm not saying they're not successful. The chances are probably that they're not. So you got to look successful. And look doesn't mean the clothes necessarily. It means you've just got an air about you. Your shoulders are back, your stomach's up, your chin's high. I don't know why people walk down there looking for pennies. Most people walk with their head down. I don't want to walk with my head down. I like to walk with my head up. So you got enthusiasm, energy, and humor. Energy, enthusiasm. Talk about enthusiasm for a moment. Some of you may remember an old-time actor. Doesn't make me old. I just happen to know him because I love the play, The King and I. Familiar with that? Well, Yul Brynner. Yul Brynner was interviewed before he died. I'm not sure I like saying that, because that's the only time he could be interviewed was before he died. Anyway, Yul Brynner was interviewed. He, I believe at the time, was in the longest running play on Broadway. 7 nights a week, 2 on Wednesday, 2 on Sunday. And he was interviewed. The reporter asked him, Mr. Brynner, you do 9 shows a week. You sing the same songs, you say the same words to the same people night after night after night after night, and you're fabulous. How do you do it? You always are enthusiastic. You always are great. Every single night, the same reviews, fabulous. How do you do it? And without missing a beat, Yul Brynner says, it's always a different audience. So you're getting a lot of phone calls. That's good. Number one. It's not the same little old lady calling over and over and over again. It's always a different person. So the meaning of this is when you pick up the phone, whether it's at 8 a.m. or 5 p.m., it needs to be answered with the same energy, humor, and enthusiasm. Enthusiasm, I said that wrong. Enthusiasm. Yeah, every single call is unique and deserves your full attention. Now, what does humor have to do with being successful? I'll tell you what it has to do with being successful. Because people say to me, well, Nancy, not everything is funny. I'm not talking about a joke. I'm talking about humor. And there's a difference between telling a joke and having a sense of humor. So bottom line, somebody came up to me truthfully at a program and said, well, I don't agree, because what about death? She said, you can't find humor in death. And I said, well, as a matter of fact, you can. I didn't tell her this story, but here's what happened. I need you to pay full attention, because there are names involved. And if you don't have the names, you may not get the story. You may not get the punchline. My name is Friedman, Nancy Friedman. I'm Jewish. My husband and I are Jewish. We had a very dear friend by the name of Jim Van Camp, and he was Catholic, I think Dutch Catholic. Bottom line, we were very, very close friends. Several years ago, he passed away at a very young age. Terrible, but nevertheless, he did it on his own. He passed away. He left a widow and 7 children. So, funeral was coming up in a few days, and there was a wake one evening. Now, I have never been to a wake, all right? But actually, we went. And they had about 100, 150 people. He was very popular, very well liked, held a very high position at Sears Roebuck, as a matter of fact, which if you remember that. But anyway, he was a big deal in advertising. And about 9 o'clock, 10 to 9, somebody said, okay, we're doing the prayer now. Come around the casket. So I'm looking around, I'm following the crowd. I stood up front because we're very good friends with the widow. And Dick and I were standing there. And the priest, I'm going to use a prop here for a minute. The priest had a book, and he was reading the book, trying to read the book, and his hands were shaking, And he was stumbling. He was just a little bit south of 100. I think he was in his mid-90s, shaking and everything and finding a page to read. Anyway, Dick tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Why don't you go help him?" I said, "Me? This is a wake. I don't know what to do." He said, go get the prayer book. So I looked at one of the kids and I said, "You okay? Should I do it?" She said, "Oh, yeah, please do it." So I went over to the priest and I said, "Father, may I help you? May I read this?" Oh, he said, "Thank you very much." So he gave me the book. So I opened the book. And I read the prayer. I am Jewish. Jim Van Camp is Catholic. Dear Father, dear God, please bless the N family. The N family needs your help. The N family needs you to be strong. The N family needs you to put your arms around them. Dear God, the N family loves you. Dear God, the N family is a good... And all of a sudden, they're all laughing. They're giggling. And I said, "That's strange. We cry at our funerals." But they're laughing. Finally, one of the kids came over, took the book away and said, "Let's go, everybody home. Let's go drink." Well, unbeknownst to me, the N family meant insert name here. I didn't know that. It said /N/family. That's how I read it, the N family. Well, the story doesn't end there. We did have a good laugh. They forgave me, so to speak. I laugh every time I think about it because Jim would have laughed. Anyway, I'm in the grocery store pushing my little cart and I'm walking down and I see one of the Van Camp kids. And she looks at me, she said, "Hi, Mrs. Friedman, how's the N family?" So they're still talking about it. It just happened to be a little bit humor in a sad time, but it worked. Energy, humor, and enthusiasm. Walk the walk, talk the talk. Yeah, look like you're successful. Feel you're successful. Humor, energy, enthusiasm. Be a whatever it takes person. Number four. Be a whatever, successful. You know the old successful, it's hard to say. I haven't been drinking. Successful people. Somebody once said, "You want something done, give it to a busy person." That's true. That's true. Busy people always seem to have the time to get something done for you. They never say, "I'm too busy." Seldom say, I'm too busy. Or they'll find somebody to get it done for you. Be a whatever you are. If you've got a pen and pencil, I want you to write the words down. Be a double checker. I believe that was one of our golden nuggets this morning. Be a double checker. But it's also part of being successful because successful people do double check. I mean, I'm asked dozens of things all day long from clients or my office people. And if I don't know it, don't have it, whatever it is, I say, I think that was taken up last week by so-and-so. Let me double check for you. The words double check are your arms around the client. It says, "I will help you. I'll find some answer for you. At least I will go double check." And that's critical to being successful. Be a double checker. Be a double checker. I told you about the red shoe story. I know I did in the double checker. She was just sure they weren't back there, but they were. I was in a hotel a while back, and I'm going to use a little prop here. Bottom line, I said, "Hi," I checked in. The woman said, "Can I help you?" I said, "Yeah, my name's Nancy Friedman. I have a reservation for a double king room tonight." She said, "Oh my gosh, we're full. We're sold out." I said, "Well, that's okay, since I have my reservation here. See, that's my name and that's the reservation number. I'm awfully sorry, we're sold out." "Really? But I have a reservation." And is this confirmed? See, I have a confirmation number. She said, "I'm awfully sorry. I can put you in another hotel." I said, "No, the program's here at this hotel. That's why I put a room reservation here." "Oh, I'm so sorry. We're just so busy." I said, "Well, let me ask you a question. If the President of the United States were coming here tonight and wanted to stay here, would you have a room for him?" She said, "Well, of course." I said, "Well, good. He's not coming. I'll take the room." Yeah, I got the room. There's always, if you double check, there's always another room. Always another room. Be a double checker. I repeat myself sometimes. It's not because I forgot what I said. It's because the items are so important. Number one, all these techniques go to all 6 touch points of the communication: email, voicemail, snail mail, phone, fax, face-to-face, text, or chat. So that's really 8 channels we have to communicate. So don't just say it's on the phone. You can use these business-wise in any channel. And the benefit in your personal life. Remember, I shared that with you in your personal life. Mother, father, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, kids, relatives, neighbors. Example. Been married a long time to my husband. Wonderful man. I think I mentioned it too, he's the author of all our telephone doctor training videos. And he's worn glasses since we were married. And almost every morning, I won't say every morning because sometimes he doesn't do this, but almost every morning he yells out after he's dressed, "Nance, have you seen my glasses?" And I said, "Dick, did you double check the bathroom sink where you leave them every morning?" "Oh, well, I'll double check the bathroom sink." Bingo, that's where they were. So we use it humorously together, and I urge you to use it humorously with your own family, if you will. Be a double checker. Be a double checker. This is exciting. All right. Second, I think it's the fifth one. Resist negative tendencies. Resist negative tendencies. You know, there's negative people all around you. I'm too fat. I'm too thin. I'm too hot. I'm too cold. I'm too short. I'm too tall. Blah, 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 blah. Dick and I, many years ago, decided we didn't want to be around negative people. We took negative words out of our vocabulary to each other, to our kids, to our coworkers. We were very careful not to talk negatively to anybody. Remember what I said? Telephone doctor is a language of positive statements at the top of the conversation. You should never hear a negative at the top of the conversation from a telephone doctor employee. If you start positive, you go up. If you start negative, you go down. Anyway, negative people really frustrate. So we took even negative people out of our lives. People that we were friends with that were so negative. We took them out of our lives. Now, we don't have a lot of friends. Well, we have some, but they're all positive people. We just don't want to, it's draining to be around people who are always complaining. It's just draining. We get complaints too, but we don't share it with our friends. Maybe a couple good friends when you're in need, but the constant conversation, the constant jab, it is draining and very difficult. Negative people, negative words. All right, I want to share with you a few of the 5 forbidden phrases. The 5 forbidden phrases were called together by the various radio and TV shows that I've been lucky enough to be on. And what we did was we opened up the phone lines and we wanted to know from the listeners, what phrases bother you? We came up with 5 fabulous ones, actually from the listeners. And I'll give you a couple of the top few that are said every day so easily and freely, yet they are forbidden in my office, in my home. And the first of the 5 forbidden phrases is, "I don't know." That is forbidden. You won't hear anybody at telephone doctor saying that. "I don't know." The positive answer when somebody asks you something to which you do not have instant access information is a simple, "Gee, that is a real good question. Let me check and find out for you." And where applicable, by the way, when did you need that information? When applicable. Not always applicable, but bottom line, when did you need that information? What we found with that question, by the way, when did you need that information, is that most people don't need it today. So we have been overstressing ourselves, inadvertently overstressing ourselves when people will say, when I ask that question, by the way, "Gee, that's a real good question. Let me check and find out. By the way, Mr. Smith, when did you need that information?" Let's see, I'm out of town till Tuesday, then I got the weekend. How about next Thursday? That'll be good? "Oh, I can do it by then. Thank you." Now, the chance that they'll say today, this afternoon, tomorrow, you were doing that anyway. Yeah, that's what you were doing, was rushing and trying to get information that wasn't even needed or necessary at the time. So the little bonus technique on, "Gee, that's a real good question, Mr. Jones. Let me check and find out. By the way, when did you need that information?" is a very positive way to ask something. You'll find out that people don't always need it today. Okay, the second of the 5 forbidden phrases that, well, something I was never allowed to say when I was a little girl. It's a 4-letter word I was never allowed to say. I wasn't allowed to say that one either. I was never allowed to say, "I can't." My daddy used to look at me and say, "What's the matter, Nancy? I didn't ask you to fly. Tell me you won't. Tell me you don't know how. Tell me you don't have time. Tell me you don't want to. 4 things, but don't you tell me you can't because you have not tried." And you were right, Daddy. And there's not a day that go by that I don't feel him saying, "Go, baby, go." Because today when callers call and ask me the difficult and even the impossible, and they do, I give them my daddy's technique. And it's a simple one. You're going to be sorry you didn't think of it yourself. "Gee, that's a tough one. Let me see what I can do." Wow. You're going to try and help somebody. How unique. Instead of a flat rejection. People don't like to be rejected. "No, we don't do that. No, we don't have it." People don't like to be rejected right away. They don't mind when you're going to try. And so many times you will be able to help people. So it's a simple, "Gee, that's a real good question. Let me check and find out. Let me see what I can do for you. Doesn't that sound better? Now there are more. Either maybe you'll have me back next time, or maybe you'll start service skills, which there's a whole video on the 5 forbidden phrases, but I want to run through a few others. Well, I will tell you another one. You're entitled to another one because it's a frustration. It's when you ask somebody or how you ask somebody to be on hold. Being put on hold is the number one frustration of phone techniques out there. That's right. People don't call up and say, hey, Fastest Labs, would you please put me on hold? No. So here's the frustrating phrase. They've asked you a question. You say, hang on a second, I'll be right back. Well, you know what? Time's up. Hang on a second, I'll be right back is a big, fat fib. Big, fat fib. So the truth is always the best way out. All right, Mrs. Friedman, I can get you that information. You want to state what you can do. Yes, Mrs. Friedman, I can get you that information. Now you're going to tell the truth. It will take me about a moment or two, about a minute or two. I need to check another computer. It may take me 3 or 4 minutes. I need to make a phone call to get that for you. It may take me a little longer. I don't want you to wait that long. Let me have a number and I'll return the call this afternoon. Is that good for you? Yes, all right. So you've got a lot of choices. But hang on a second, I'll be right back is not one of them. Big red X on hang on a second, I'll be right back. I've never heard of anybody coming right back. It's just not possible. It's just not possible. So we tell callers the truth. All right, the information you need, that somebody wanted to know so-and-so is in. Let's just use a person. Mr. Jones in, you can either transfer right away and say, gee, that's a good question. Let me double check. I need to put you on hold for about 2 or 3 minutes while I go check. His office is down the hall. Are you able to hold? Well, thank you. People don't mind holding when they know that you're going to help them. That's the secret. Don't tell anybody I told you that, but that's the secret. They don't mind holding as much, I should say, when they know you're going to get help for them. So hang on a second. Big no. Hang on a second. That's not good. All right. The 6th of the, that's hard to say. You can't rent these things. I told you so. You gotta buy them. The 6th of the 7 traits of being successful. Whew, that's hard. That's with no notes around me. I never do have notes, Nancy. Why would you say that? Expect and accept change. Expect and accept change. You know, change is really the only thing that we have in life that we know is going to happen forever and ever and ever, except for the sun rising in the east and setting in the west. That's going to happen forever and ever. But change is going to happen. There are going to be changes in the roads that you drive. There are going to be changes in the weather. There's going to be changes in your office hours. There are going to be changes in office decor. There are going to be changes in outfits that we buy. So change is just something we need to live with. But we were out one night having drinks a couple of weeks ago. Well, it was before all this happened. And my husband and I, sometimes the way we get techniques is over a cocktail and a paper napkin. And he's doodling and I'm doodling. We're talking about work and we're talking about life. And one of the things he said to me was, the word change is not a good word. It's not a happy word. It's not an accepted word. I mean, people don't like change. You know, this is the way we've been doing things and it's working for us. But you know that old saying, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you always got. So that's not always change. Change is good sometimes. But the word change is a negative one. Even when I used to say to my husband, I'm going to change this room decor. I don't like it. Don't change a thing. I like it just the way it is. So here's the new word you're going to use. I'm going to make some improvement in your schedule. We're going to make some improvements in the living room. We're going to improve a few of the areas around here. Wouldn't you, if you saw a road sign, wouldn't you like to say we're making road improvements instead of detour, tragic hazards ahead, whatever the word is? Wouldn't you rather see that? Improvements ahead. Improvements coming soon. So accept change, expect it, and accept it. But I suggest you try to sneak in the word improvement when you tell somebody, well, there have been some changes made with these tests. No, there's been some improvement made with these tests. Got it? Get it? Good, as they say. Got it? Get it? Good. And the 7th trait. The 7th trait. Be grateful for what you have. There is no room for jealousy in a successful individual. So don't be jealous. I mean, somebody's always going to have a bigger house. Somebody's going to have a bigger ring. Somebody's going to always have more money. But as long as you're happy and you have a great attitude, you too can be successful. There is no room for jealousy in a successful person. Now, I always try to close. I do close with a little humor. So I'm going to leave you with the story of the two little Jewish people. And Sam was dying on his bed, and his wife, Mary, was by his side. And Sam says to Mary, "When I die, when it happens, I want you to marry Saul." "What?" "Yes, Mary, when I die, and the time is coming, very shortly, I want you to marry Saul." "Oh, I couldn't." "Please, Mary, you love me?" "Yes, I love you." "Please, I want you to marry Saul." "But I thought you hated Saul." "I do." Could be any religion. I chose Jewish. Look, this has been an awesome pleasure. The program is a little shorter, and let me tell you why. When I go through the 7 traits of being successful, there's an awful lot of audience interaction, which I don't have right now. So I would say a good 10 minutes of that has been cut out. And then, of course, there's question and answers, which you will get to ask, I promise you. As soon as you type out, Dave and Sarah are going to send me the questions, and you will get the answers. But that usually fills up a whole hour. So we've gone about probably 40 minutes here, maybe 45 minutes. I'm not often at a loss for words, but it has been a pleasure to work with you this way, better than no way. And I'm proud to have been a part of your Fastest Lab conference. I have spoken to some of you on the phone, and I thank you for your time. You helped me understand a lot. I will be able to answer your questions, and if I cannot, I will find somebody who can. I'm Nancy Friedman, the telephone doctor. God bless, and thank you for watching.